I'm going to be focused on how you can share documents, how you can share files with others. Also, once you share files with others, what does it look like to open up a file that's been shared with you? What does it look like to be a collaborator? And then I'll actually be opening up a document as two different people, and I'm going to show you what it looks like when two folks are collaborating on a document that's been shared. So that's how we'll start. I do start the class working in Google Docs just because many people are very familiar with Google Docs, but I will also show you how you can share files, documents in some of the other Google apps as well. So let's kick this off. And I'm just curious, Adua, you gave me your background. Just curious to know if folks, Joyful Martha, if you have been working in any of the Google apps. I mean, it certainly isn't a requirement. Just curious whether it's Gmail, Google Docs, slides. Joyful, how about you?
Yeah, my name's Joy.
Joy, okay.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm a novice. I have Gmail, but it comes up as Google.
Okay.
I mean, it says Gmail, but I think it's Google. So I'm from the beginning.
Got it. Wonderful. Okay, Martha, how about you? What's your experience working with any of the Google Docs? Excuse me, Google apps.
I've used them, but I'm really a beginner. I really don't know what I'm doing.
And that's okay, because we're going to be focusing on the sharing, collaborating part of this. So I don't go into how do you use Google Docs? How do you use this? I really focus on how do you share files or photos or folders, that kind of a thing. So that'll give you a feel for what we're going to talk about today. So how do you share documents? How do you share files? Well, when you're working with the Google apps, all of your files, your documents are private. No one else has access to them. No one else can see them, and except for you, until you start sharing them. Now, as the creator of a document, a file, you're the owner. You decide who you would like to share your file with. And then once you've done that, you also control what permissions, what access they have to that shared file. Can they do edits? Can they just add comments? Can they just view it? So just know that when you are sharing documents, before, by default, everything is private. But then once you start sharing files, folders, photos, that's when you provide others access to them. And I'm going to talk you through this. You'll see how we do this. All right, so how do we share a document? I am going to demonstrate using my my Google Doc. So I'm going to open up a Google document. And before I do that, just give me a second. I just want to set something up here. Give me a minute. There we go. Sorry about this. Forgot to do this before class started. It just makes it so much easier. Yeah, this will be it. Because I want to set up my little collaborator. And then I'll just, there we go. Not now. No, we don't want to do this now. All right. And I think we are done here. Let me just make sure. Yep, sounds good. All right. I am going to open up, I have a document that I created using Google Docs. And again, I'm not going to be walking you through how do you create a document in Google Docs. We have a class if you're interested in learning how to use Google Docs. But I did want to show you that in this example here, we did have our family reunion last summer, first time in 18 months, my family and I got together. This is a picture of what our cabin looked like up in the Sierra Nevadas in California. And what I've been asked to do from my family is see if I can coordinate efforts about where we want to go this coming summer. Fingers crossed, all is well. And rather than send emails back and forth between us, I decided that I was going to create a Google document. I'm using Google Docs. And I'm going to share this with my family members. I'm going to ask them to put their suggestions below where they would like our next family reunion to be. And so I'm going to share this document, and you'll see how when I log in as one of my family members, how everybody can collaborate on the same file. And they do it in real time, meaning as soon as someone makes a change, you will see it. And so this is how I'm going to demonstrate how we share documents. And I'm always just curious, before I share this with my family, just wondering, does anybody in class have a particular place where they're hoping to vacation next? Maybe a destination or a place where they really are hoping they would like to go. And this is just fun. You know, you can put it in the chat if you feel like unmuting yourself. If anybody has any places that they want to share where they would like to go on vacation next. I just love to have fun with this one. So feel free to just, you know, join in. I'll be happy to add it to the mix. And Bali, oh, I'm loving that one. I'm putting Bali down. Thank you. I love Bali. It may be a little far, but that's okay. It could work. So I'm going to share this document with my family members. You'll notice in the upper right-hand corner, I have this blue share button. And this is what it looks like when I've opened up a Google app, in this case, Google Docs. Now, on that share button, it's got a lock on it. You'll notice it's a little lock symbol, and it says when I hover over it, and I have a big blue, big purple pointer, it says private to only me. So I've created this file. No one else has access to it. I'm the only one who can see it. But now I'm going to share the file with others. So I'm going to click on the share button. And the steps that I'm showing you, you can then replicate with other Google apps, and I'll show you what that looks like as well. So I'm clicking on the share button, and this is the screen that comes up next. The top portion of the screen, there's two different parts of the screen here. I'm going to explain when you use different parts. So where it says
I don't see a share, excuse me, I don't see a share button. This is Joy. On when I opened up my app in my iPhone.
Your iPhone, you should have it there. Are you on a document that you created? So I'm doing everything in my on my computer, on my laptop today. So
Okay.
Yeah, let me see. Share. What you'll see, Joy, is you'll have on the top right-hand corner of your iPhone, you will have a symbol that looks like a person's outline, and it'll have a plus sign next to it, look like a person's profile, and it'll have a plus sign next to it. When you tap on that symbol, that but icon, it will open up your share. So I'm demonstrating on a laptop today using my browser. So it's going to, the menus you access a little differently. So hopefully, Joy, that helps. Sorry,
Thank you.
You're welcome. And so on the laptop, when you're working off of your browser today, and what I did was I opened up my browser window on my laptop, logged into my Google account, And then I opened up Google Docs. I opened up a file that I had created in Google Docs. So I should have started with that. Sorry. So when I click on that share button, when I'm here, it says add people and groups. This is where you're going to start to add people's email addresses. And Joy, you'll see the same thing on your iPhone too. It will say add people or groups. I'm going to start typing out email addresses. These are my family members. So I'm typing out email addresses. I've done this before, so that's why the email addresses pop up because I've shared other files before, so my system recognizes those emails. So I'm just adding email addresses for people that I want to share this file, this document with. They don't have to have Gmail. This one is a Hotmail. They may have Outlook, Yahoo, AOL. Doesn't matter. You just specify the individual's email address that you want to share this document with. So once you've decided who you'd like to share the file with, you'll come over here to the right-hand side where it says editor. And if I tap on that or click on the editor button, there's a menu, and these are the different options. So by default, when you're sharing a file with someone, it's always set to editor. And that means that these people will have complete editing capabilities. They can add text to your file. They can delete text from your file. If you make them a commenter, they can simply add comments to the file. They can't actually touch the text. And of course, you can make them a viewer, and that way they just view your file. They can't do anything. So I'm going to keep it as editor because I want my family members to get into this file and start adding their own suggestions. So let's go down into the message area, and I'm going to type out a message, hi family, please add your, vacation suggestions for this summer. All right. Now you'll see down here, there is a link to the Smith family reunion. This is the document. This is what the collaborators will see. So I'm sending this to my family members. I'm sending this as an email, and they will actually open up the email. I'm going to show you what that looks like, and they'll get a link to this file. I'm going to click on the send button. So what's happening here is I've now shared this file with other people, and you'll see in the upper right-hand corner that share button, it no longer has a lock on it because it's been shared with others. I've sent out email messages to family members, and now I want to show you what it looks like for someone to receive one of these email messages and then open up my file. So if you'll give me a minute here, I'm going to be working off of two different screens. I'm working off of two different people. So let me just rearrange this. Sorry about that. And I'm going to split the screen just so that it's a little bit easier for people to see. Sometimes it just takes me a little while. All right, here we go. I think we're cooking with gas now. So what are you seeing on the right-hand side of my screen? Well, I've logged on to my Gmail account as my niece, Tara. And you always know when I'm working as Tara because she has her little dragonfly image associated with her Google account profile. She's a dragonfly girl. So this is her window. This is when I'm working as Tara. And then on the left-hand side, whenever you see the screen that has the green circle with the letter V, that's me, Vicki, Aunt Vicki. I'm the creator of the document. So I'm coming over here on the right-hand side of my screen, and in my Gmail inbox, this is, if I click on the new email that I've just gotten, I'm working as Tara, niece Tara, And this is what it looks like for someone to get an email when someone has shared a file with them. Here's my little, hi family, please add your vacation suggestions for this summer. This is my little message to them. And then they can either just click, hover over this section of the email, click open, or they can click on the open button down here. Either one. What happens is when they click on the link, they are actually opening up my file, my Google Docs file. It's not a copy, they are working directly on my file. So we have two people working on the same file. And you always know when someone has opened up a file that you've shared with them, because if you come up here, and so I am niece Tara, and as I move to the left of that share button, you'll see here is Vicky's Google profile. And as more and more of my family members open up the file, you will see their Google profile little their icons show up in this area. So that's how you know who has opened up your file, who currently has it open. So let's start doing something with the file. So on the right-hand side, I'm my niece Tara, and let's just start adding information in here. So I'm going to scroll down, and right underneath Bali, I'm going to just click in there, and I'm going to just say, what do I want to do? I'm going to add, I really love Maui. So I would love it if our family could go to Maui. So I've just typed out Maui here. Let's hop over to the left. And again, I'm working as Vicky. I'm the owner of the file. And if I scroll down towards the bottom, you can see immediately, I can see what someone has entered, what they've added to the file. And if you'll see that there's this little color bar. As people start adding text, their name pops up next to the color. And I do think that different people have different colors. So you always know who has made a change. And so again, just people who are collaborating with you, you've shared the file with them, they open it up. If you've given them editor capabilities, editor permissions, then they can go in here and they can just start typing away, just like I've done here. Maui, maybe we have another, let's see, where else would we like to go? We talked about Lake Louise. I don't know, I'll put in Paris. And you can see in real time, this is what's happening. So this is how you can simply start adding text. Now, what about if you needed to change text? So adding text is pretty straightforward. You just type in information. There you go. People can see it. What about if you're editing? So maybe you're deleting some text, replacing it with others. What does that look like? So let me just close this down for a minute. I'm coming up here. And instead of, as Tara, I'm going to say, well, instead of using, the word killer, how about we remove this and instead replace it with the word awesome? And you'll see if I come over here as Aunt Vicky, I'm working as Vicky now. I mean, I can tell that Tara made a change to right around here, but I don't know what change was there. I don't know what was there before awesome. I can't remember. So let me just show you, using Google Docs, you have this capability. I'm going to come up in Google Docs and use the good old undo. So we get back to where we were originally. And if I come over here, what's really nice about working in Google Docs, let me make this a little bit larger so you can see better. As I move my cursor over to the right-hand side, the right edge of the document, and this is available primarily in Google Docs, but I can show you what some of the other things that you can do. What are some of the other things you can do in some of the other Google apps? You'll notice in Google Docs, we have these two icons that pop up, add comment and suggest edits. If I click on the suggest edits icon, let's go back over here with next to the word killer. And this time, let's make the same change. And I'm going to type out the word awesome. And you can already see what's happening here. When I go into suggesting mode, as a collaborator, that enables me to strike out the original value and add my own value. So it keeps an audit trail. And this is wonderful if you have multiple people who are going to be actually editing a file, making changes, not just adding text. So I wanted to show you the difference there. And again, the way that I got there is simply by, if I'm on a file, let's see, I'm still in editing mode. So I'm coming up here. Let's make this a little bit larger. And I'm clicking on this little down arrow button. If I select editing, I'm back in editing mode. And then as soon as I move anywhere on my screen, when I move to the right edge, I have these two, suggest edits and add comments. And so that's what suggest edits will do. And you're really only going to find suggest edits mode, these editing modes in Google Docs, because it's such a collaborative application. Just so that you know, when I come over to the upper right-hand corner and I click on that little pencil icon, you as a collaborator, meaning someone has shared the file with you, when you go to work on that file, by default, you're always in editing mode if you've been given editor permissions, but you can move yourself into suggesting mode. So that enables you to create sort of like that audit trail. You can also move yourself into viewing mode when I click on that, and you'll notice that it removes that toolbar. I don't have it anymore. And that's really to stop people from, wanting to go in by mistake and make an edit. So I'm clicking on the little eyeball up here. I'm going to move myself back into editing. And those are some of the features that are available with Google Docs. Now, I want to show you how you can add a comment, and comments are available throughout the Google application suite. So to add a comment, and again, to do this, you'll either have to have someone provide you with editing or editor permissions or make you a commenter. And in Google Docs, what you can do is, again, we're moving over to the right-hand side of the right edge of my document. And there's that little plus sign over here where it says add comment. When you click on add comment, what you'll see is on the right-hand side, there's this little comment box that pops up. And I can say something like, this was so much fun. Can we find another house like this? I don't know. And I'm going to click on comment. Let's come over here to the left-hand side, working as Vicky. And I also want to make mention, when collaborators are working in suggesting mode, when they're working on a Google document in Google Docs, one of the things that you, the owner of the document, can do is when people make suggestions down over here, this is the comment I just made. Let's come down here. This is the change that Tara had made. She replaced the word killer with awesome. As the owner of the document, I can go through different suggestions that different collaborators have made. And by clicking on each suggestion, I can click on the check mark, excuse me, to accept the suggestion, or I can click on the X next to a suggestion to reject it. If I accept a suggestion, what you'll see just happen is it takes the replacement awesome and then uses that in the file. So again, as you're collaborating with others, as people are opening up the document that you've shared with them, they're making changes. You, as the owner of the document in Google Docs, you can accept those changes or reject them, the suggestions. So I just wanted to show that to you. Now, what if people are adding comments? And it's literally just this easy. You see, you can come over here, click on the add comment, the little blue icon with the plus sign, and just start adding comments to a file. You can do this if you're in Google Slides, Excel, Google Sheets, Google Forms, all the different office productivity, as well as Google Photos. I'll show that to you as well. And when someone makes a comment, you can always click on the comment and then you can reply. I'll say, we'll do my best. And then I'm just going to click on reply. And immediately, whoever has the file open, you can see comments that people have added, as well as any replies. You don't have to reply to a comment, but you might want to. And so this is really how you're going to collaborate with others. You'll be adding comments. You'll be making changes if you've been given those editing permissions. And let me know if anybody has any questions about what I've been doing so far. And of course, when you're making comments, you can always, as I've shown you, you can always just move your cursor to the right edge of your document. Or another way to make a comment is to just highlight some text, whether it's a sentence, a paragraph, a word. As soon as you highlight text, these two icons become available. You can click on the comment. It brings up that little comment text box here. And, how about Disney in, California? And then select comment. Of course, when I come down here as Aunt Vic, I'm on the left-hand side now, I can immediately see the comments. So this is what we mean when you're sharing a file and people are opening the file, working on it. They see all the changes in real time, and you can be making comments, replying to comments, making suggestions, making edits. Everyone sees them. A few other things I wanted to point out to you. So you'll notice on the right-hand side of my screen, I'm working as my niece, Tara. And Tara has the share button. So as Tara, if I were to click on the share button, I actually can start sharing this with other people. I could just start typing in their email addresses and I could share this file with anyone. Well, as the owner of the file, and I'm just going to click off here, as the owner of the file, I probably want to keep this just with my family. I don't want anybody sharing it with anyone else. So I need to put in some additional, what we call share settings. And when you set up, we call it when you set up the share, I'm going to click on the share button one more time. And I'm working as Vicki, the owner, the creator of the document. So when I bring up my share, there is this little icon. It looks like it's a gear icon in the upper right-hand corner. When I click on that gear icon, it brings up an additional menu with 2 other settings. Let me make this a little bit larger. Maybe people can see. There we go. A little bit better. So remember, I set my family up with editor capabilities, which means that they can add text to the file. They can delete text. So here are 2 additional settings that I think are important that you probably should be aware of. So the first one, and these are set by default, they're both turned on. Editors can change permissions and share. If I deselect that checkbox, what's going to happen is anybody I share the file with, if I've given them editor permissions, they will not be able to share the file with anyone else. So once I save these settings, what will happen is when my niece goes to click on the share button, she'll receive a message that says you don't have permissions to share this file, something like that. So this will enable you to stop people from sharing the file with others. Viewers and commenters can see the option to download, print, and copy. And remember, these are both turned on by default when you start sharing a file with someone. And by deselecting this, what you're able to do is someone that you've added to your share, either as a viewer or a commenter, they will no longer be able to download your file, print it, or make a copy of it. So by default, they can. And if that's something that you do not want them to be able to do, you will want to deselect this checkbox. And I'm just going to click on the back button to get back to my main screen. I always get the question, well, what happens if you've been sharing a file with someone, but then you don't want to share it with them anymore? You don't want them to have access to it. What do? You'll bring up your share screen by clicking on the share button, whatever Google app you're in. And then in this list of individuals that you've added, you can click on this editor button associated with their name, their email address and name, and you can select remove. You can simply click on remove. And then if you click on save, you have then removed them from the share. They will no longer be able to open up the file and access it. And so again, I clicked on the share button and you'll see it says person removed. Just come over here to the list of people that you've shared your file with, click on that editor button, and then click on remove. So while we're on this screen, I want to talk about the get link option. So what I've been showing you up top here, when you're adding people's email addresses to share the file with them, this is how you share a file with people who have a Google account. But what if someone doesn't have a Google account? How do you share the file with them? Well, this is where you're going to use the get link option. And what you'll be doing is you'll literally be sending them a link to this document. And down at the bottom here where it says restricted, only people added can open this link. And what they're talking about is only the people that you've added up top here. And if you want to open that up to others, you'll simply click on this link that says change to anyone with the link. Now you've enabled anyone with the link to have access to the file. So I'm going to, you'll see here, there's this copy link button. If you click on it, what you're actually doing is you are now copying this link and you can paste it into an email, you can put it into a text, you can just send it any way you wish. And also I wanted to point out that when you're using the copy link or the get link feature, you always have this option over here where it says viewer. If you click on that, it brings up this list. Now, for whatever reason, by default, I think it always sets you up as a viewer, but you can select editor, commenter, copy the link, and then I would be pasting this link into an email message or a text message, any way I wanted to send it to those folks who do not have a Google account. And this is how you'll provide them access. This is how you will share this file. Again, you'll use the get link option with folks who do not have a Google account. I'm just going to click on done. And I don't know if it's going to show me, but let's do this. One of the things I just moved into my email account, because whenever you've shared a document with someone, when someone makes a change to the document, you will receive an email. Everyone on the share will receive an email letting you know that the document has been updated and who has done what. So that's another nice feature of sharing, not just in Google Docs, but in any of the Google apps. Does anybody have any questions before I move on and show you some other Google apps and how you share? Nope. Okay. Just give a holler. I'm going to minimize this and let's go ahead and redraw the screen. Let's resize this here. I want to show you other apps that you have that you can share with. So I'm going to open up a different tab, and I have gone to my Google account. I've logged into my Google account. Let me just show you, I'm going to open up another app. This is Google Slides. And I think, Ajua, you said you use Google Slides. So
Yes.
when you're working on Google Slides, there's the share button. You click on, I've opened up a Google Slide document. You click on the share button, you'll see that it looks exactly the same. So when you're working with Google Docs, Google Slides, Google Sheets, Google Forms, you will see this share button. And you'll just work with it the same way that I've been showing you. Now, just know when you're in Google Sheets, Google Slides, you don't have that suggesting mode. You can make comments, add comments, respond to comments. But the Google Docs is just a little bit different because it has a few additional features because it is so collaborative. A lot of folks use it, teachers, students. So I just wanted to make mention of that. I'm in my Google Drive app right now. So because I'm using my browser window, when I logged on, I went to google.com. I logged on to my Google account. And when I click on this little icon, this grid icon, using a browser, it brings up a menu where I have access to my different Google apps. So I selected my Google Drive, and your Google Drive is your own private storage space in the cloud when you're working with Google applications. This is my Google Drive. If I wanted to share a file, so for example, this annual potluck dinner, I can right click on a file and it brings up this menu, and there's the share right there. I can share a file, I can share a folder. If I click on the share button, you're going to recognize this right away. It's that same share menu. So again, this is if you're working in Google Drive. We have a class that I teach on Google Drive. And just know that this is how you can share files and folders from within the Google Drive app. And you'll also see we have this little, and Joy, this is what you see, the little profile icon, the person profile. You can tap on that as well or click on that. It also brings up the share menu. And this is for when you have a particular, when you've selected a particular file, you can click on the share icon that way. So two different ways to get there. I'm going to click back on my grid icon, bring up my menu, and all of the different, so many of the apps that you're seeing here, you can share with others. So let's go into Google Photos. Let's see what that's about. We have a class on Google Photos, and I have some just photo albums that I've, collected. I've, uploaded my different, in this case, images. You can upload videos, audio files, doesn't matter. And you'll see over here, you have different ways of sharing, whatever you're comfortable with. And I always like to point out this little guy right over here in this photo. He just celebrated his 22nd birthday. So if you're using Google Photos and you would like to share an album, a photo album, maybe you've organized your videos, your photos into a photo album, you can come over here when you've opened up your photo album, click on the plus sign, and the share looks just a teeny bit differently, but that's okay. You can select someone's email and then send them, tap on the send button, and that way you can be sharing your photo album with someone. So you can either do it this way by clicking on the plus sign. This is another icon to get used to because this is also the share icon. So you'll see a lot of the Google apps will have this icon available to them. Whenever you see it, you can click on it and share with others. So again, this is Google Photos. I've opened up an album and I've shared it with others. They will get an email with a link to my photo album. They'll be able to open it, view it, and also add their own photos as well. Let me click on the grid icon. What other things do I want to show you? Let's see. I'm trying to something interesting here. Google Keep. I'm just going into some of the different apps now. Google Keep is another Google app. It really is, it's like an electronic notepad, a big text editor. You think of it as being able to add sticky notes, electronic sticky notes to your screen. And I have all kinds of notes here when I teach one of my classes. And when you add a note, there's that little, I'm highlighting my Tuesday tasks. And there's that little plus symbol. Let me just see if I can make my screen larger. There we go. When I move my mouse over one of my notes, there's that plus sign. I can click on that's the collaborator. When I click on that, you've recognized this one. I can start typing out someone's email address. And now I can share this with them. I can just click on save, and Tara, now I've shared this note with her. Let me see if I can find Tara's email. Let's see if we can see what it looks like. I want to see if I can open up. I have a couple of new things here. This will show you, by the way, and there's this lag. I wanted to open up Tara's inbox because you'll see that whenever there was a change made to the Smith family reunion, all those changes are displayed in an email. And so you get notified with an email whenever someone has added a comment, changed a value, deleted something. And I was hoping to show you some of the new things that Tara has been invited to, but it doesn't look like my email is just lagging today. So sorry about that. Okay. And so these are some of the ways, when you bring up the different Google apps, you may have a share button on the screen. You may instead have, one of the little collaborator symbols with a plus sign next to it. It just depends on the app that you're using, but the idea, the concepts are still the same. And I want to go back into Google Drive for a moment. Let me see, Google Drive. I'm going to switch over. Let me switch over to Tara. I've just logged into a different account. I'm on my niece Tara, and I wanted to show you when you click on the shared with me link when you're in Google Drive, this is another way of being able to access any files that have been shared with you. So this is in Google Drive, whether it's a document, a spreadsheet, a presentation slide, a note, you will always be able to access it from your Google Drive application by clicking on the shared with me link. And so I just like to mention that. And really, just about when I click on the grid icon, almost every app in the Google suite that you're working with, you can share things with. And just recognize that sometimes you'll have the big share button. Sometimes it will be that little contact looking, user profile icon with a plus sign. Sometimes it will be that little bizarre, let's see if I can show, it'll be this little icon over here, with the circle. So just be aware of this is how it's working. So I'm going to come back to my slides here, and we've covered everything here, believe it or not. I just wanted to ask the class at this point, now that you know a little bit about sharing, are there any ways that you're going to take what you've learned today and use it? Whether it's with Google Docs, Google Sheets, slides, photos, any of the Google apps. These are some suggestions that other learners in my classes have come up with, how they plan on using collaboration. I'm just curious, maybe Joy, Martha, Ajua, do you have any ideas about how you might be using, maybe sharing different files? Just curious, and it's okay if you don't. I won't hold it against you.
Sure, I do. I haven't been sharing any of my photos per se. I've been keeping them all to myself, but now I know how I can share them with other folks. That's a good idea. Because a lot of times I have a lot of photos, and you want to share them, but sometimes you put too many and the file is too big. So when you can create a link, it's much better.
Exactly. That's another way around that large file problem, because sometimes even documents, sometimes I've tried to, email something and it's like, the attachment's too large. You've hit the limit. You can share things instead. So yes, bingo. Joy, how about you? Any ideas on how you might be collaborating in the future?
I like the photo idea.
Yep. And when I start the class and I use that example of using Google Doc to, instead of sending emails back and forth, this could be anything, whether it's a family reunion, potluck. If you just want to come up with a list of you're in a book club, what are the new books that we want to read for the coming year, add your suggestions rather than crisscrossing with emails. Share files instead. Martha, how about you? Just curious, what are your thoughts?
Well, what I'm really happy about is that I am in a book club and we are trying to figure out other ways to share, but we all use Apple. And so now I know, and we have different emails, so now with the link, I'll be able to do that. I'll share that with them.
Yep.
So that'll
Yeah,
be
you
great.
share the fact that you're going to share. Yes, you can. And again,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter which platform you're on.
Yeah.
And so that if folks have a Google account, that's one way of sharing it. If they don't, exactly, Martha, you can just copy that link and
Yeah.
then send it to them. So,
So thank you
that's-
for that. That's great.
yeah, no problem. And the last thing I wanted to share with you, I'm just going to hop over to my GetSetUp site. Dun, 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 and where it says search classes and groups, for those of you who might be interested in learning about some other Google classes that we offer, you can come in here in the search classes and groups. You can simply type out the word Google, and then these are all of the different classes that we offer. I think we have a class for just about every single Google app. So if it's not on this screen right now, it's because we just haven't put it on the schedule yet. So keep coming back here every day because we're adding more. We're always rotating our classes. And this is just, there's just like so much here. So if you're interested in kind of diving down a little bit deeper and knowing more about how to use some of the Google apps, this is the place to go.
I say, Vicki, since I've been on GetSetUp, I've taken a lot of the classes in the technology area. And I can tell you, it's amazing how much we don't really know or what we don't use with our programs and our apps. And I've been learning so much. I'm so grateful for being here. Thank you so much.